All right, let's go back to one of our top stories, and the DA is calling for a parliamentary inquiry into the Eskom board. We can go live now to the DA Chief Whip, John Steenhuisen, who joins us from our Cape Town studios. John, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. If anyone had to watch that interaction between Lynn Brown, the Public Enterprises Minister, and Eskom Chair Pravin Gordhan and the rest of the Eskom board yesterday, the one question we have seen so far is who's lying?
Well, it's very clear that somebody's not telling the truth, and that was very, very clear yesterday. I think that the interaction with both the Minister and the board has left far more questions than answers, and that's why both Natasha Mazzoni, our Public Enterprises Shadow Minister, and the Parliamentary Committee itself are calling for a full parliamentary inquiry, because only a full parliamentary inquiry is going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to then be able to tell who has been telling lies to Parliament and who has acted dishonestly in this reappointment of Brian Molefe as the CEO of Eskom.
So we listened to Minister Lynn Brown give explanations as to why she okayed Brian Molefe's return as Eskom CEO. Are you buying it?
I don't buy it. I think the behaviour of the Minister in this matter is completely the antithesis to her usual behaviour, and it's completely out of character, and that to me indicates that there's something rotten in this decision. She knows, as well as everybody else knows, that Mr. Molefe's tenure at Eskom is bad for Eskom, it's bad for South Africa, and it's bad for accountability and transparency. Mr. Molefe still has a huge cloud hanging over his head arising from the State of Capture report. He has made zero effort, either in court or in any other way, to clear his name and to show that the Public Protector's findings were wrong. How on earth she feels it appropriate to appoint a man with this huge scandal hanging over his head to the top position in a state-owned enterprise is beyond any comprehension.
Now, a former Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan, pulled no punches when he raised questions at that portfolio committee. Firstly, it was surprising to actually hear from him, and then it was surprising to hear how strongly he spoke out against what was happening at Eskom.
Well, I think that Mr. Gordhan has obviously a massive advantage here in that, having occupied that important position of Finance Minister, he knows where many of the bodies are buried. And that's why I think he took a particular line of questioning yesterday, and it's a line of questioning which we all support, which points to the unweaning influence of the Gupta family on Eskom and on senior ministers of state. He said something very important. He said, when you connect the dots, it starts to tell you a story. Well, the dots are starting to be connected on an almost daily basis, both through the media and through what Parliament's unearthing. And it's not telling a story in line with the one that Mr. Ngubane tried to sell to the South African public yesterday and to the Portfolio Committee. Clearly, his business as usual, everything's all right approach is completely unfounded. It's completely not borne out by the crisis that faces Eskom and the scandals that are emerging from mismanagement, nepotism, corruption and cronyism on a daily basis. So I think Mr. Gordhan was connecting those dots yesterday, and I think once those dots are all connected, the true story of the rot that is set in at Eskom under Mr. Ngubane's watch is going to be exposed.
Now, in terms of Brian Molefe's return to Eskom, we first heard that he resigned, we heard that he was on unpaid leave, we also heard that he took and asked for early retirement. Of course, South Africans feel like they're being fooled here, but what do you think is the case, especially since you raised concerns that you know of people who were actually interviewed for that position? Well, the story that Eskom's board is trying to sell to the public is complete hogwash. Mr. Molefe had resigned from Eskom. Even if he had not submitted a formal resignation letter to the board, when he agreed to be sworn in as a Member of Parliament, he tacitly resigned from Eskom and was no longer an employee, because you cannot be a Member of Parliament and an employee of the state at the same time. The Constitution forbids this. And so this hogwash that the board's trying to sell South Africa is a complete subterfuge for the wrongdoing that they are perpetuating by trying to reappoint Mr. Molefe. It's very clear that Mr. Molefe was sent to Parliament to be appointed as the Finance Minister, where he could get hands of the Gupta family on the Treasury. When that didn't work, he's now been sent back to Eskom
to carry on the work that he was carrying out there on behalf of the Gupta family. And so we simply don't buy this argument, and it's completely wrong for the board to try and continue to hoodwink the South African public and Parliament that they've acted in the best interest and the best interest of Eskom and of the country.
Now, very quickly, Mr. Steenhuisen, you say that you want a parliamentary probe into Eskom. How does that process start? Who has to give the go-ahead for that to happen?
Well, the committee chairperson yesterday, who I thought did a very good job in steering that parliamentary hearing yesterday, has already initiated the process. There'll be a committee inquiry into it. Yesterday, the first steps were taken. Documents have been requested. The full board minutes, the full record of decision around the decision to appoint Mr. Molefi. And what the committee will be doing over the next few weeks is certainly compiling a list of witnesses who we can summon to Parliament and board members who we can summon to Parliament, and any interested and affected party who we believe has an interest or involvement in this matter. Parliament has the power to subpoena them to Parliament and compel them by law to produce documents. And I think that once that starts to happen, the process is going to rapidly gather pace, and we'll start having a far clearer picture about the true scale of the rot at Eskom.
All right, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. That was John Steenhuisen, the DA's Chief Whip.